love movies and movie discussions, you've come to the right place. Who am I, you ask? I am The Wiz, and I am here today to review the 2018 biopic Vice, starring Christian Bale, Steve Carell, Tyler Perry, Sam Rockwell, Amy Adams, and Jesse Plemons, directed by Adam McKay. I think if I'm going to start this review off, I'm going to talk about basically my feelings about the director, which is Adam McKay. Adam McKay has been getting a lot of praise in the past 10 years for his comedy/drama films that he's been doing. He also has gotten a lot of praise for producing and help creating Succession, which is a show I like a lot. I thought Succession was a really good show. However, if I'm being absolutely honest, I am more of a fan of Adam McKay's comedies than I am of his latest work of dramas. Okay, so let me get as to why that is. So I didn't watch Vice before this. I watched The Big Short and Don't Look Up, and I did not think too highly of The Big Short. I liked some parts of it, but not a lot of it, and I really did not like Don't Look Up. And the reason why is because Adam McKay has this style when it comes to presenting information of a person that you would talk to who knows more than you do, knows it, and instead of just being a person who says, let me explain it to you, he does it in a way that is, okay, pleb, let me explain it to you in terms that only you can understand. Sit down, here's your dunce cap, and let's go. That's kind of the feeling that I would get from his movies and his comedies, like Don't Look Up and The Big Short, especially Don't Look Up. Oh man, there were things about Don't Look Up that I just did not like at all. And I definitely like McKay's comedies a lot more. I think Anchorman is his best film, and that is not a slight. Anchorman is a hilarious but inventive film that I actually really enjoyed. And I like Step Brothers and the other guys too. Not so much Talladega Nights, but I don't hate it, but it just doesn't compare to those movies. But yeah, of Adam McKay's films, Anchorman is my favorite. And again, not a slight. Anchorman was a fantastic film. Why don't we get into the review of Vice, directed by Adam McKay. So before I get into my review, let's go down to the plot of the film. This is basically a biopic of Dick Cheney from the time at which he was out of college to when he became vice president of the United States in the 2000s to 2018. But it's also a farcical type of movie. A lot of exaggerations, a lot of comedic bits in the movie too, which we'll get into at that time. So it is a straight biopic, but they go in different directions throughout the movie. So let me get to my first point when it comes to Vice, and that is it has a great cast and performances. I mean, it doesn't surprise anybody to say that Christian Bale did a really good job in this movie. He gained weight to play Dick Cheney, and he did a fantastic job with his mannerisms and the way he walks and the way he carries himself. He did an excellent job as Dick Cheney in this movie. I will say, though, the performance that I liked most from this film, and I'm surprised to think this, is Steve Carell as Donald Rumsfeld. He seemed to really get the part in this. Rumsfeld is played as like an obnoxious, cancerous, hateful asshole, and Carell did a great job of not only capturing that point out, but by also showing why someone like Cheney, who was a quiet, very calculated person, would want to associate and connect with him. The way that they showed Rumsfeld in this is not only that he is an abusive prick, but also he is charming in his own way. And Carell played that really well. I do want to give Bale his props. He did a really good job in this, but if I'm being honest, the one performance I really liked in this, I thought was the best, was Carell in this. I thought Carell had the best performance. Amy Adams is good. The other side characters, Tyler Perry was good in this. Sam Rockwell as George W. was good. I just think the two best performances are obviously Bale, and I think the best performance is Carell in this. So those are my two favorite performances, but all the performances are very good in this. My next point is it tells an interesting political insider story. There are a lot of political insider stories, but what these political insider stories usually do is show at the time how powerful, not just how powerful it become, but how much of a dynamic figure this person came, like a beloved or hated figure. And what Vice does in this movie is shows that he really was neither until people started figuring out exactly what started happening behind the scenes well after the George W. Bush era is gone. In a strange way, I think this kind of helps in George W. Bush's with his image, because a lot of people after 2008, and I would say for good reasons, highly criticized Bush's reasons to go into the war in Iraq and for what he did and everything. I think the realization of exactly how much power Cheney had actually helped Bush rehabilitate his image. I don't know if this film is going to do that as well. It might, actually. It might show to people that actually Bush was kind of bushwhacked and sideswiped from Cheney as well, for Cheney trying to get into power. But it does definitely tell this interesting story of somebody who was quiet and isn't really a bombastic type of person, but it gained political power anyway through those means. And it's a very interesting story, because if you usually when you have a quiet character, it's not a very interesting. It's an interesting movie, but it's not an entertaining movie. And this film keeps itself entertaining throughout this time. So I definitely think that it works in that instance. So if you are interested in like a political insider story that's pretty interesting, yeah, I think Vice fits the bill too. The third point I want to get is the creative elements mostly don't work. Vice is a farce. Vice is meant to be funny and ridiculous while also telling a very true story, but it doesn't in a way that makes the bad stuff go down easier, I think is the point of the film. With the exception of one scene, I think the farcical and the creative bits do not work. The reason why is because I don't think the comedy aspects of this film, with the exception of when Carell is Rumsfeld, I don't think it works very well. I especially do not like the narrator and what they did with this. I like Jesse Plemons. I think he's a very good actor. The problem that I have with the narrator specifically is that it really shows no other purpose other than to hammer a point home that Cheney is evil. And that is it. They could have done something very interesting with this narrator. I'm not going to spoil as to what happens with him, but it becomes a hammer and nail situation where, do you get it? Do you get it? Do you get it? Do you get it? Like, yeah, I get it. And this is one of the big problems that I have with McKay's films when he does these informative drama comedies. I don't think he respects the intelligence of the audience. I think he does this in a way in hopes that it would be easier to understand, but it just comes off as kind of snobbish in a way. It just comes off as, hey, pleb, hey, do you get it now? 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 Like, yes, McKay, I get it now. I get it. Like, and it's especially annoying when you already know most of what happens, which I will be dead honest with you, in both Don't Look Up and The Big Short, I knew all that stuff before going in. So I knew most of what happened. To not only get that information and to get in a way of like, listen to somebody who knows, okay, is like, okay, go fuck yourself. I don't really want to hear it here. He does it less in this movie, but he still does it. And when it happens, it gets kind of grating and annoying. Okay, so who do I recommend this for? I'm going to recommend this for someone who wants a critical look at Dick Cheney. I mean, this is what this film is. It is a critical synopsis and look at his life and his work and what we should know about how he got into power and what he did with it. So if you are looking for that, this film gives it. If you like political biopics, this is a pretty different political biopic, but for the most part, it kind of stays within those lines. It has some weird editing choices and tone choices, but for the most part, I think if you are into these types of political biopics, you'll enjoy this movie. And if you're going to double this with W, the Oliver Stone film, I have to see W again, but I remember liking W and being surprised how even-handed this movie is. But if someone wanted to make a double feature, it would be interesting to see how they would come off of watching W and then Vice, and see how it meshes together in this. So I think if you're going to do that, that's something that you should try. So who do I not recommend this for? If you want an even-handed biopic, yeah, this movie definitely skewers and criticizes Cheney. I would say it doesn't really give him anything that makes you feel bad for him. It really chastises him throughout the entire movie, even chastises his wife in an interesting way. If you're looking for a movie that will give you an even-handed interpretation of his life, this is not it. I wouldn't recommend this if you have no interest in Bush or Cheney. This is obvious. This is what the film is about. If you cannot stand these people and you can't stand up to the point where you just don't want to see anything about them, yeah, don't see it. I get that in that end. And then if you don't like McKay's other drama comedy, I like this one best out of the other two, but there are still the same problems that I have with the Don't Look Up and The Big Short. So if you don't like those movies, I would say just don't even bother with Vice. It goes through the same things that you would expect from the other two movies. So overall, I'm going to recommend this movie. I actually liked it. I actually enjoyed it, which is more than I enjoyed The Big Short and Don't Look Up, which is odd because this is the movie I think as many good reviews or good talk when it came out. I think a lot of people criticized this movie, but I actually liked it. I get the criticisms, though. The editing is weird. I think the more farcical and comedic elements just don't work. I think as a straight biopic, it works, but any of the creative elements in it, I think it kind of falls flat. So, yes, I would recommend Vice with some caveats. If you are part of the people that are in my not recommended set, I would say, yeah, just don't watch it. It's not for you. So I will personally recommend Vice. It's a good movie, but it's not for everyone. Now, if you want my full review on this movie, you can go to my website at IamTheWiz.com. You'll have my full written review right on the site, along with a link to the video that has this review that you've just listened to. All right, so next week we're going to do some Thanksgiving movies, and we announced this last week with Kim. She is currently at a wedding right now, enjoying her time, probably drinking and partying and stuff. So hopefully she's having a good time. And she's going to come back next week to review the Greta Gerwig version of Little Women, starring Saoirse Ronan, Emma Watson, and Florence Pugh. I love Greta Gerwig. I think she is a really good director, and I've wanted to see this version. I know Kim really liked the older version with Winona Ryder. So tune in next week where me and Kim review Little Women, directed by Greta Gerwig. I am The Wiz, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.